This is a man that knows what it's going to take to make Ohio a state of excellence, not one of the better states in this country, but the best state in this country. And you know what's great about Vivek? Give him a round of applause. You know what's great about Vivek is he's not just a guy with a vision. A lot of leaders have that. But he's a guy that has the courage and the fortitude and the willingness to actually break some eggs in order to make an omelet and get things done. Those of you that raised your hands a few minutes earlier when I asked who is a veteran know what I mean when I say that in the military we learn pretty quickly there are leaders you follow because you have to. They've got more rank than you do, and you kind of have to do what they say. And then there are those rare leaders that you follow because you want to, because they lead by example, because they have the courage of conviction to do what's right even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Vivek is one of those kind of leaders, and that's why I'm proud to endorse him as our next governor of the state of Ohio. But even more importantly than that, Donald J. Trump has endorsed him as the next governor of Ohio. And if you need any more proof, you're going to hear tonight why he's going to be the next governor of Ohio. But if you need any more proof, wait till you meet Dr. Apurva Ramaswamy, who's going to be an excellent First Lady for Ohio. She's not here tonight, but when you meet her, you're going to be blown away. She's incredible. God bless Lucas County. Thanks for all you do. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Mark. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. See you next.
Thank you, Frank Lorella. Okay, so next up, I'd like to introduce, I'm very proud to introduce our Senate President, Robert McCauley. He's going to come up and introduce our guest speaker, Vivek. Robert?
How's everybody doing tonight? Everybody excited to be here?
Yeah.
Well, we have a great evening in store for us. And frankly, one thing that I've learned as not only as a husband, but also as Senate President is when you start these things, you have to introduce your spouse. So thank you to my wife Denise for being here.
Woo!
As Senate President, you also have to introduce your members who are here. So thank you to Teresa Gabrone, who you all know and love here in Lucas County. You know, it's with the work of people like Teresa Gabrone and a number of the other legislators in here that we've been able to incrementally institute our conservative vision for what it's going to take Ohio to that next level. When I joined the legislature about 10 years ago, we had 7 income tax brackets, the highest one 7.5%. We're now down to 2 income tax brackets, the highest 3.5%, the lowest now 2.75%. We've taken on a number of other issues, such as energy, that we're taking on right now, because we acknowledge that Ohio is in a competitive advantage position to be able to stake its claim not only as an energy-dominant state in the Midwest, but an energy-dominant state in this country that can continue to deliver economic development wins for the future of the state of Ohio. Not just for us, but for all of our children and our grandchildren. These are the things and the big decisions that Ohio needs to make if we're going to take that next step. If we're going to make Ohio the state that we know it can be, to make it a dominant state across all facets going forward. You know, when I got to meet tonight's speaker, I got to spend some time with him. He was generous enough to welcome me into his home. And we talked about a variety of things. We talked about his bold vision. We talked about some of his ideas as to how we're going to take that next step. And we talked a little bit as well about the importance of taking those next steps. And there was a period of time during our meeting where, and this is something that I think all parents in the room could probably identify with. He was there and his sons were there as well, and his sons kept coming and wanting to show their father different things that they were working on in the other room, different crafts, different things that they may have been doing over the last 5 minutes. And as somebody who's the father of a 10-year-old and 7-year-old twin boys, I totally related to this. But it became apparent to me at that moment in time that he has a vested interest, not just in the short term of what this could mean, but in the long term of the state of Ohio. Failure is not an option for Vivek Ramaswamy in his next quest to be governor of the state of Ohio. after that moment, and after the long conversations we had had about the bold decisions that would need to be made, about the leadership it's going to take Ohio from one of the best states in the Midwest to one of the best states in the country, that I decided, and if you read the Blade this morning, that I decided that I'm endorsing Vivek Ramaswamy to be the next governor of the state of Ohio. You see, we need a leader who's willing to take bold initiative. We need a leader who's willing to take on entrenched interests. We need a leader who is going to unapologetically introduce the conservative agenda that we know will work and that we know will take Ohio to that next step, to take Ohio to be a state of excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, we need Vivek Ramaswamy as our next governor of the state of Ohio. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure, and without further ado, to introduce to you the next governor of the state of Ohio, Vivek Ramaswamy.
It was fantastic. Thank you, buddy. That endorsement meant a lot. We're not going to let you down, all right? Thank you. We got you back all the way. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Give this man another round of applause. Ohio Senate President right there. He's got a bright future ahead. One of our young leaders. I love that. Rob, how old are you? What, 40? 40 years old, and he's already served and been term limited out as Senate President by the age of 40. We got a bright future ahead, and thank you. I think about your two twin boys, right? At the age of 7. My older son's 5. My younger son is 2. They're all going to be in high school by the time I'm done with 2 terms as our governor. And we're doing it for them and their generation. And that's what gives us our sense of purpose and calling. I came to Lucas County, it was about 4 years ago, back before anybody knew what my name was when I wrote my first book. And it was an honor to be back here 4 years later signing those books for many of you out in the session we had beforehand. And I think about how things have changed over the last 4 years. The direction we've gone as a country. America is back, and it feels fantastic, doesn't it? It feels good. 4 years ago, we were in the middle of a national identity crisis. Faith in God, patriotism, hard work, family. These values had disappeared in so many parts of our country. Our young people, people in Rob's and my generation, were hungering to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And yet so many of us couldn't even answer what it meant to be an American. Less than 16% of Gen Z said they were proud to be an American. And under Biden's presidency, we had a 25% recruitment deficit in our U.S. military. That was unacceptable to me. That's why I spent the better part of the last year traveling this country coast to coast to do whatever I could, especially bringing younger people along, to help send Donald Trump back to the White House as our 47th president. And in November, we made the right decision as a nation by re-electing the greatest president of our century. And I'm proud we did it. Thank you. Thank you all for helping make that victory possible. Now you can feel it. There's a new energy in the country. We can feel it in the room tonight. A new verve, a new enthusiasm. I believe we're now on the cusp of a new golden age in America. I have never been more optimistic about the future of our country than I am right now. And I mean that. I didn't tell you that 4 years ago when I was here. But I'll tell it to you right now because it is true. A revival of conviction in what it means to be a citizen of the United States of America. What does it mean to be an American? It means we believe in the ideals that set this country into motion 250 years ago. Ideals like merit and hard work. That you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. That's why we've ended the woke DEI regimes and affirmative action and group quotas. We're done with it. Moving on to meritocracy. That's what we stand for as Americans. It means we believe in free speech and open debate, that you get to express your viewpoint as long as I get to in return. And you know what those people across the street do too, as long as your neighbor gets to in response. That's true free speech and open debate. And at our best, that we can still get together at the dinner table at the end of it. And one of the best stories I heard tonight was that there's one of you, I hope I'm not going to embarrass you, I won't make you stand up unless you want to. There was a man who I met on my way in who told me he was here, he took a photograph with me in the photo session beforehand, and he told me that his wife is across the street, which I thought was a beautiful thing. Where are you, man? They're going to get together at the dinner table. That's America at our best. It's a beautiful thing. It warms my heart to see. That's what it means to be a citizen of this country. It means we believe in the rule of law in the United States. And I say this as the proud son of legal immigrants to this country. That means your first act of entering this country cannot break the law. And that is why if we've had the largest influx of illegals into our country in American history, then we're going to have the largest mass deportation in American history, because we stand for the rule of law in the United States of America. It means the people we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually make the laws, not unelected bureaucrats in three-letter agencies. That's why we fought an American Revolution. What does it mean to be an American? It means that we at our core are courageous, and that we are brave, and at times even heroic, to do what is right for our country in our hour of need. Those are the values that won us the American Revolution. Those are the values that Donald Trump is reviving as our 47th president. And I am confident that our nation's best days are now still yet ahead of us. But it isn't a one-man job. It doesn't work that way. If we are going to be truly saved as a country, not just for the next 4 years, but for the next 4 decades and the next 4 centuries and then some, it is going to be because we all step up and save ourselves. And that starts with the states. That's what our founding fathers envisioned. I think it starts right here in Ohio. Donald Trump is going to do his job over the next 2 years, sending programs from education to health care back to the states and to the people where they belong. That's true federalism. That's what our founding fathers envisioned for the United States of America. President Trump is reviving our conviction in America, but we need a leader here at home who revives our conviction in Ohio, in our own home state. And that's why last month I declared my candidacy to become the next governor of a great state at the heart of the greatest nation known to the history of mankind. The state where I was born and raised, the state where I'm raising my 2 sons today, a state whose best days are still ahead of us. That's why I announced my run to be the next governor of our great state of Ohio. And we will not stop until we get the job done. Thank you. I-O, brother. We're going to lead Ohio to be the top state in the country, not one of the best states in the Midwest. We're already there, thanks to the hard work of people like Rob and his colleagues in our state legislature. We've always had a state legislature that's even more conservative than our chief executive, and I'm going to try to do my job to change that. You've done a great job, Rob, you and your colleagues. Tell them, give them my best. Give them a round of applause, too. Matt Huffman and your colleagues, they've done great, too. You give them our best. But we're now going to go to the next level. We're going to take Ohio to be the top state in the country to raise a young family, to start and grow a new business without apology, to succeed, to give our kids a world-class education in math, reading, writing, critical thinking, physical education, and civic education, where we give our kids the tools not to be victims, but to be victors in a competitive global economy. The state where we embrace capitalism and meritocracy instead of apologizing for it. The state where we take a hatchet job to red tape, government bureaucracy, and regulations. The state where we lead in the sectors of the future, from AI to aerospace to semiconductor production to you name it. The state where patriots across this country actually flock to, instead of just Florida and Texas. We will lead Ohio to be the state of excellence in the United States of America. That's where we're headed. Thank you. Thank you. Now, there are those who say that is too ambitious. Is that impossible? Are you dreaming? What are you smoking? They'll say in other parts of the country when I tell them this. I'll tell them it wasn't long ago that Ohio was that state. You see, you got young people. Where are those 3 young guys with the matching blue suits? Where were you before you? There you guys. Stand up. Yeah. One of them's 19. One of them's 26 years old. I love these guys. You guys use TikTok? You know, okay, they guys got their heads out screwed on correctly. I like that. I'll tell you that a lot of people in even the younger generation who do use the memes on the internet. There's a meme going around last year which says, only in Ohio when they see something old or outdated or whatever. It irritates them. It wasn't long ago that people weren't making fun of Ohio. They were aspiring to be Ohio. At the turn of the last century, we were the wealthiest state in the Union, the third most populous state in the country, an economic powerhouse with great natural resources right underneath our ground, fertile farmland, led the way in the first industrial revolution. Even in the 1950s, that wasn't that long ago, even in the 1950s, 6 of the top 15 wealthiest cities in America were right here at home in Ohio. That includes Toledo. It was the glass capital of the world. Akron was the rubber capital of the world. Cleveland, these were in Youngstown. These were the steel capitals of the entire world. Dayton was the computing power capital that led the first industrial revolution. My hometown of Cincinnati, we were known around the world as the Queen City, the consumer products capital, the Porkopolis, they used to call us, the food power capital of the Western Hemisphere. That was Ohio not that long ago. We were the pioneers, the explorers, the unafraid, the people who nobody would dare stop from achieving the maximum of our potential without any government or bureaucracy standing in our way. The state that gave Neil Armstrong and John Glenn the self-confidence and the gumption to dream, to go to the outer frontiers of outer space. Neil Armstrong becoming the first man to ever walk on the moon while he was an Ohioan, born and raised right here. John Glenn, the first American to ever go into orbit in outer space. The state of the Wright brothers, where you see cars driving down the street, they say, no, we're going to create flying vehicles and we're going to be the first ones to lead the way. From right here in Ohio. It wasn't an accident. When you grow up in a state that's the economic capital of the Western Hemisphere and of the United States of America, you learn to dream big. You learn to see boundaries as obstacles to overcome. You learn that whatever is necessary is always possible. That's who we were. We were the state of, and we can be that state again. We have the same geographic advantages we did back then. Think about it. The same fertile farmland, the same great natural resources, including oil and gas, right underneath our own ground. The same geographic location that's always given us a great advantage. The same Erie Canal all the way to New York City. The same perch right where we are, not far from Lake Erie. By the way, I like what President Trump's done with the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. Anybody think if there's a Lake Michigan, maybe there should be a Lake Ohio around here? I'm feeling that, so we'll talk about that a little bit more as this campaign progresses. But we have every reason to be proud of ourselves. We got 60% of North America's population within a single day's driving distance of where we're having dinner right now. God has blessed our state with every advantage we could wish for to be the leading state in the country and in North America, and I say in the Western Hemisphere, to power that second industrial revolution that we're in right now. All we need to do is to start believing in ourselves again. It's a crisis of self-confidence in America. Donald Trump's turning that around from the top. I'm going to turn around our crisis of self-confidence in the last 10 years in Ohio. If Silicon Valley led the way in the last 10 years in the American economy, it is going to be the Ohio River Valley and the Maumee River Valley in the next 10 years. That's the way we're leading our state forward. And it may not be even rubber production next time around. I'd love it if it is. But it's also going to be the sectors of the future, from semiconductor production to nuclear energy to coal production, which I believe will again be a sector of the future, to oil and natural gas production, to Bitcoin, to biotech discoveries, to our defense industrial base. The state where we use AI not to take jobs, but to make jobs through workforce training and education. This is where I want to lead our state. This is our moment for a modern-day Northwest ordinance. That's where we are in Ohio's history. We are a conservative state. We have a conservative legislature. And it is finally time for us to be governed like the conservative state that we are. That won't lose us elections. It'll win us elections. It'll win us elections because it's going to lift up more people from poverty. It's going to put up more money in your pocket whether you're in the heart of Columbus or whether you're in Toledo or whether you're in the foothills of Appalachia. A good governor doesn't just lift up part of this state, he lifts up the entire state. That will be my mark of success. We're not going to forget Northwest Ohio. We're going to stand for Northwest Ohio. The state where we give our kids that revival of self-confidence, belief in ourselves, as Neil Armstrong and John Glenn and the Wright brothers had. So too will the kids in Rob's and my and their kids' generation have that same self-confidence because they deserve it. The state where patriots across this country, from New York to California, who share our values, and there are a lot of them out there, all the way to even Texas and Florida, will be flocking back to Ohio to raise their families and establish their roots here, including so many of our state's kids who have left for other states to repatriate that next generation to live their American dream right here in our home state of Ohio. That's going to take a new, fresh generation of leadership. I think it's going to take leaders with fresh legs. I see Josh Williams right there. Good to see you, my man. From Ron McCauley to Josh Williams, we got a new generation of leaders rising up across our state. We're just getting started, running through any obstacle that stands in our way to take our state back to greatness. It's going to require some reforms. Some of these areas, I'm not going to beat around the bush with you. Some of these areas we're going to have to play catch up. Not with Illinois or Michigan. We're doing better than those states. But I'm talking about with the top states in the country. Texas is number 1. Florida's number 2 for people moving in versus out. We're number 38. I want to lead us back to number 1. So there's some things required if we're playing for number 1 that we're going to have to do in this state. For example, we're going to take the state income tax down from not just 7 brackets to 2, as the leadership has done, but down to 0 brackets because we're going to get rid of the income tax in the state. 0 income tax in the state of Ohio. It is your money, not the government's. You deserve to keep what you earn. We got to celebrate hard work and success. And if 8 other states have managed to do it, then so too will we here in Ohio. People ask me, how are you going to do it? Well, look, if we're the state that sent somebody to be the first man in the world to walk on the moon, this will not be the greatest challenge that Ohio has ever conceived. End the existent spending and overspending of waste, fraud, abuse in different parts of the state. Take a rational approach to get there. First, eliminating capital gains to allow for business formation. Articulate this to the rest of the country. Let the rest of the country know we're right here. A good governor who can market the state to the nation so people move back, so we have economic growth that allows us to go back to 0 tax. We're going to get there while also bringing down the property tax burden in this state, which has gotten way too high. It is unjustly high in the state of Ohio. There are Ohioans probably in this room and certainly not in this room as well. Even the protesters across the street suffer the same problem, paying as much in the interest payments and principal repayments on your mortgage as you are in your property taxes, which makes you feel like the land you own is just a lease from the government. That's un-American. It's unjust. It is antithetical to the values of Ohio. We will put a ceiling on the percentage of your land that can be assessed as a property tax, because that, too, is part of what it means to stand for capitalism, success, and private property in our own home state of Ohio. We're going to get that done. We're going to go further than that. We're going to restore law and order across the state, including in our cities, by allowing our sheriffs and our police officers to actually do their jobs without fear of being sued and looking over their shoulders, with the proper training needed to do it well. And that means we're going to bring back compassionate, long-term, but serious psychiatric care in this state. Bring back the psychiatric hospitals that we shuttered. That's not compassion to let those people on the streets and in our jails. That is cruelty. And we're going to do the compassionate thing by giving people the mental health care and the dignity they deserve as individuals, rather than our jails being the top form of mental health care in the state. We're going to end, along with that, we're going to end the left's war on work in America by reattaching work requirements to Medicaid and to food stamps. Time, but you're not going to get a permanent handout when we have a workers' crisis in our country. Put people back to work that lifts us all up. We're going to be the state that takes that hatchet I mentioned earlier, not a chisel but a chainsaw to over-regulation in the state of Ohio. For every new regulation they try to add under my watch, we will require rescinding at least 10 other regulations to make sure we're the state where you are free to achieve the maximum of your potential. This will lead us to an economic boom that we have not seen since that first industrial revolution. The state of energy dominance, manufacturing dominance, AI dominance, the state of economic excellence in America. And these aren't just academic solutions to enhance our GDP numbers. These are vital improvements to our social and economic fabric as a state and as a nation, so that we're no longer a state where little league teams have to shut down because they can't find a local company to sponsor them, where a mom doesn't have to think twice before having that second or third or fourth kid for fear of the cost of a new stroller or buying a bigger car. A state where every parent has that bone-deep conviction that is your birthright in America, that your kids will go on to live an even better life than you did. That's where I want to lead our state, not just economic excellence, but also to be the state of educational excellence in America. And here I'm going to give you some hard truths. This is where we are as a country, and I'm going to be very honest with you. Really, both parties are responsible for how we ever got to where we are right now. We're in the middle of a crisis of educational achievement in America. There was a student who graduated from a Connecticut high school last year with honors, and she cannot read. Her mother is suing the school district for negligence. There are kids in China now who, on average, are 4 years ahead of our own kids on a grade-adjusted average. That means a seventh grader here in America is performing at the equivalent of a third grade level in China. In Singapore, it's 5 years ahead. Eighth grade in America, third grade in Singapore. That's unacceptable to us. There are kids in other countries now where English isn't even their first language, performing better on English proficiency than our own students here. That's unacceptable to me. I refuse to just stand by and watch, speaking as an Ohioan, as a parent, and as an American. We're not going to just stand by and idly watch as China laughs at our gradual decay into oblivion. We're going to turn this ship around, starting right here in our state of Ohio. We're leading the way. We will lead Ohio to be the top state in the country and in the world, to give our kids that world-class education in math, reading, writing, physical education, civic education. We're going to do it in part by taking our school choice programs to the next level. So every parent has a right, a civil right, to send their kids to the best possible school they can, including even homeschooling as a viable option for parents who require it. As Arizona have done, as Iowa have done, we can do right here in Ohio as well. Competition breeds innovation and success. But we're not just playing catch-up. We're also going to lead the country by being the top state, even the top red state, that allows our public schools to compete with the best of those alternatives. Some common sense measures. We're going to use the dedicated base of police officers we have in this state to make sure we have at least one of them in every school in this state so our kids are safe in school. And we're going to do that while respecting the Second Amendment rights and the constitutional rights of every Ohioan and every American. We're going to make sure that our kids actually show up to school, addressing that problem of chronic absenteeism spreading across our state like an epidemic. I will promise you this: never again will we in the state, I'll promise this as your next governor, never again will we in Ohio bend the knee to an Anthony Fauci knockoff who allowed our schools to be shut down while private schools were allowed to remain open. Those kids will never get their education back. She owes those kids an apology and has no business trying to step back anywhere near the halls of power in this state. That much is a promise I'll keep for you. When we win next year in a landslide, that's what we'll accomplish. We're going to stand for the achievement of our students, from the sports fields to the classroom, in every domain. And here's how we're going to do it. I had a conversation with one of you beforehand. This is a good conversation for us to have. We're going to be the first state in the country to adopt and implement merit-based pay for every teacher, principal, superintendent, and administrator in our school systems. We will pay for performance. Let me be clear about this. That means the best teachers will be paid a lot more than they are right now, as they should be. But it means that it's going to be tied to the actual achievement of our students. I'm a product of public education. I went to public schools from kindergarten through 8th grade, Princeton Public Schools in Cincinnati, Ohio. In 6th grade, I went to a magnet program at Robert E. Lucas Intermediate School, Rellis, which sadly is now closed in my hometown. I had a teacher, Mrs. Kinney, who changed my life. She lit a fire under my feet. She taught me to work harder. She helped me see potential in myself that even I didn't see. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I am right now. She helped me live the American dream. We need more teachers like Mrs. Kinney. But we're not attracting the very best anymore because there is no meritocracy in compensation. That doesn't mean the rich school districts automatically do better than the poorer school districts. To the contrary, if you measure it from the start of the school year to the end, that improvement in achievement, it may actually be even better, create an incentive for great teachers to move to the tougher school districts. It's not just going to be teaching to the test. We're also going to incorporate parental feedback, feedback from peers, other teachers and principals at the school who know who's really doing a good job and putting in the extra effort versus who's not. So for those who will see this idea caricatured by the left-wing media or by left-leaning aggressive opponents on the Democratic side who will distort the right solutions to lift our state, know this: we're going to do it in a way that actually lifts up everybody from our students to their parents to the best teachers who will be rewarded in the right way for doing more. But the status quo is unacceptable to me, where the best people in our country aren't even going into education. We will make Ohio a magnet for the best educators across the country. We're going to be the state where our kids excel in math and reading and writing. And we won't forget about physical education either. We're going to reintegrate, as I said on day one of this campaign, we're going to reintegrate physical education starting at a young age into kindergarten and pre-K education. And we're going to bring back the presidential fitness test in middle school. That includes the pull-ups, by the way. And we're going to serve healthier food in our cafeterias, because the best way to save on healthcare costs in the long run is to foster a healthier population in the first place. And to that respect, I'm glad that we have leaders across the state who are already listening. You start talking about the right ideas, good things begin to happen. I was proud to see the leadership of the state earlier this week, several days ago, adopt that vision in making sure we're incorporating physical education, as the governor and the lieutenant governor are now already planning to now do in the coming weeks. I'm proud of them, and I want to build on that foundation to lead our state to the next level. I want to make sure it's not just physical health we're focused on, but also mental health. Address that epidemic of depression, anxiety, fentanyl usage, opioid addiction, suicide, the mental health epidemic that's spread across our state and festered across our state for too long, by filling that crisis of purpose and meaning, the attention deficit disorders spreading amongst young people. Easy solutions, let's start with the basics. I will say it, and I said it the day I started this campaign, and I'm happy to see our state now taking measures to go in that direction. We will end the cell phone usage in our schools once and for all. It's not right for our kids. There's no argument for it. And here again, in recent days, I want to applaud the leadership of this state for adopting that vision in the next stage of our state's growth. That's a good thing. I applaud them, and I will work with them to make sure, certainly by the time I'm governor, that we actually get it done across our schools. We got to fill that crisis of purpose and meaning at the heart of a generation. So many of us, especially our young people, are hungry for a cause, hungry for identity, hungry for meaning, at a time when the things that used to fill that void, as we talked about, faith in God, patriotism, those things have disappeared in our country. We got to stand for what's right and what's true. Individual, family, nation, and God beats race, gender, sexuality, and climate if we have the courage to stand for what is right in our country. I promise you this, Apurva and Apurva, she's the real hero of the family. Frank LaRose mentioned it. He wasn't kidding around. He's right about that. She would be here tonight, but for the fact that she was in the operating room as a throat surgeon at Ohio State, in many cases performing throat surgery in cases where she doesn't even get the level of reimbursement that actually many in the medical profession ought to if we want to incentivize it. She's the true public servant and hero in our family. She's with me in this journey. We're in this together as a family. We'll hold ourselves as not just the setter of policy in the state, but also the cultural tone that we set in the state, to make the nuclear family cool again, to make marriage cool again, to make family and the nuclear family the greatest form of governance known to the history of mankind without apologizing for it. That too is about filling that void. Filling that void with faith again in our societal fabric in a way that we've lost by standing for the religious liberty of every person of every faith, regardless of their faith, in the state of Ohio. That's who we are dating back to the Northwest Ordinance here in Ohio. To revive civic education that teaches those kids about our history, the history of our country and the history of our state, without apologizing for it. Replacing woke indoctrination and victimhood psychology with actual U.S. history, with actual civics lessons. And we will require that every high school senior who graduates from an Ohio high school has to pass the same civics test required of every legal immigrant before they become a naturalized citizen. Because you got to know something about a country to be proud of that country, to love that country. We got to hold ourselves as Americans to a higher standard, and we will, because we love this country. I speak for every one of us in this room. This is the only country we will ever pledge allegiance to. This is the only country that we will ever return to. This is the country that we will fight and die for if we have to. But we have to teach our next generation what the values were of those country in the first place. And once we fix that in K through 12 in education, then higher education becomes easier. I also want Ohio to be the top state in the country with the best universities in the nation. I say this as somebody who lived the American dream and went through four-year college degree programs. I went to Princeton Public Schools through 8th grade. I went to St. X, St. Xavier in Cincinnati for high school. Great Jesuit school. I'm proud of the education I received there. I went to, thank you, got some St. Xers in the room, fellow bombers. I went to Harvard for college. I went to Yale for law school. I've gone on to live the American dream, founding successful companies as the son of legal immigrants who came to this country with nothing. My wife's lived her version of the American dream. We're proud of our path. But I also recognize that my path cannot be the only path either. And we're going to make sure that we are also the state where every kid who wants to become a welder or a carpenter or an electrician or a mechanic or a builder also has his path and her path to the American dream through vocational education. 9-month, 6-month education without occupational licensing requirements that get in the way. Red tape that gets in the way. Earn while you learn programs as early as high school. I don't call these professions the trades. I call them professions because that's what they are. They deserve the same degree of respect as somebody who wants to become a lawyer or a banker. And you see, that's the point. Thank you. It's not that one of these is more or less elite than the other. It's a trap we sometimes fall into, that it's us versus them. Well, you only go through 4-year college degrees, and if not, you don't have the same degree of respect. Or you can have a reactionary backlash the other way that says, oh, no, that's for the elites. Nobody should get college education. It should only be the other thing because that's elite and that was bad. No. We're all elite as Americans. All these paths are elite. We should be proud of that. I want us to be the state where every son and daughter of Ohio who wants to become a doctor or an engineer or for that matter a scholar of history or literature or chemistry has a path to do that from UC to OSU to Bowling Green to the University of Toledo, while we also provide the best paths for every son and daughter of Ohio who wants to become a welder or an electrician or a mechanic. We are the state where every path is open to every child. That is what the true American dream is about. A true meritocracy. Our nation was founded on the ideal of a meritocracy. What is a meritocracy? We use this word sometimes and we don't pause to ask ourselves what it means. Meritocracy is a system that recognizes, we're a nation that recognizes that every one of us, every one of you, has your own unique God-given talent, distinct from every other person in the world. And that we are the nation where you get to realize the maximum of your own God-given potential without any government, system, or bureaucracy standing in your way. That's what made America great the first time. And that is how we will make Ohio great again. The state where we make the American dream come alive for that next generation. This isn't just about our GDP numbers. This isn't just about a bunch of green pieces of paper. American dream is bigger than that. Our metrics of success will be how many people move into our state versus out. How many kids are born into families in this state. In my book, the more the better. I'm pro-natal. I'm pro-birth. From womb to tomb, pro-life all the way. The more kids that are born in this state, who remain in this state, to pursue their American dream in this state. That's who we are. That's what my metrics of success as your next governor will be. The state where the American dream isn't just about fancy verbiage and rhetoric, but it is a lived reality for every person who grows up here. The state where our kids don't have to be spiteful towards somebody else's success because they managed to succeed through capitalism, because they're participating in it with real skin in the game themselves. My message to my two sons, to Rob's kids tonight, to every son and daughter of Ohio, is that we are the state where the American dream is your birthright, where a world-class education is your birthright, where success is your birthright. Freedom is your heritage, and excellence is your destiny. This is not a small vision for our state. This is an ambitious vision, because I believe that is who we are as Americans and as Ohioans. We're not victims, we're victors. We don't whine, we win. That's who we are. We don't complain, we excel. I'm not a standard politician. I'll be frank with you. I'm a businessman. I've lived the full arc of the American dream, and I will fight every day to pass that American dream on to our kids and their generation. I will fight to the end for this state. We're going to visit all 88 counties this year. We're going to visit all 88 counties next year. We're going to visit all 88 counties every one of the 8 years that I serve as your next governor, because I want to listen to you. I want to listen to every Ohioan. I don't want to govern from a bubble. I met a young man earlier today, gave me a great idea I didn't have before I came in here. We're going to take a look at it. Connor, where are you? There you are. Stand up, young man. This man is serving in the Ohio National Guard right now. First of all, give him a round of applause for that. Thank you. How old are you, Connor? 25 years old. Thank you. 25-year-old young man gave me a great idea. He said, we're underutilizing our National Guard. I thought that was a good tip, Connor. A guy who's, think about this now, the turn of culture in our country we're seeing. A 25-year-old young man is not only serving in the National Guard, but comes up to the hopefully next governor of the state of Ohio to give me clarity on the fact that he and his fellow peers in our National Guard want to be doing more for our state, and gave me some ideas of what you could be doing to serve. Heard from Dr. V. Where are you, Dr. V? There are you? Stand up, Dr. V. Thank you. I want to recognize this man. Stood out to me because when I was in Princeton public schools in first grade, my nickname used to be just V. So I met Dr. V. But Dr. V's story is a powerful story. He was, I hope you don't mind me saying so, but he's been arrested, nearly incarcerated 6 times in a prior stage of his life, but then went on to get a PhD. He's now a motivational speaker, giving hope to people across our state. And we decided tonight, you know what? We're not just going to come to the Lincoln Day dinners. We're going to be here too. I'm going to 30 plus of these, maybe 40. And I love these. But we're also going to be going to the inner cities of Ohio. We're going to be doing that together, you and I. Talking to young people to teach them there's a better way, that you ought to believe in yourself, that the Democratic Party or the left that taught you to see yourself as a victim, to say that you're somehow the product of what the rest of the world wants to do to you. No. Dr. V and I, we're going to go to the inner cities and we're going to deliver them a message. The same message I'll give my 2 sons, that the number one factor that determines whether you succeed in your life is you, actually. It's not your race, it's not your gender, it's not somebody else's attitude towards you, it is yourself. Through the likes of Connor, Dr. V, and others, I want to listen to the people of the state, whether you're Democrat or Republican. We had the people across the street tonight. I'll tell you, Rob and I, we're going to be working together for a while. I sent Rob out on a mission. He did it. I said, can you actually at least invite at least a handful of those people to come in here? Because I'd like to have a civil conversation. I want to listen to them. They're fellow Ohioans. I'm not just here to lead the people who are in this room. I'm here to lead the people who aren't in this room, even the people who disagree with me. Tonight, they did not accept our invitation, but the invitation stands and remains open. We have a room out there. We're ready for a roundtable conversation. I want to listen to every Ohioan. We want a big tent coalition of constitutional conservatives like those of us in this room. Republicans of every stripe and flavor, but also independents, also libertarians, also orphaned Reagan Democrats, politically homeless Democrats, anybody who's politically homeless in this country, if you care about economic excellence and educational excellence for your kids, if you care about your kids having the same shot at the American dream that this state afforded me, if you care about your kids having more money in their bank account and their investment account, if you care about lifting yourself and your family and the next generation up, then you know what? We can take the small disagreements and put them to one side. We are on the same team, and we will work with you and provide a seat for you at the table in this movement to lead our state to the next level. That is my pledge, even to the people who run against me. To the extent that we have a primary this year, and that may look less likely by the day, but to the extent that we have one, I personally welcome it, because competition breeds innovation. To the extent that we have a competitive race, it won't be that competitive with the Democrat, but to the extent that we have a worthy Democrat who runs, I'll take the best ideas I can from anybody who provides them and integrate them into our vision to take our state to the next level. We're going to work together as one state, not in silos where the Attorney General operates in one silo and the auditor operates in another. You know, Frank LaRose, he was a great Secretary of State. He's going to be a great state auditor. It's not going to be our teams working with each other to schedule appointments 2 weeks out. We're going to be on text threads ourselves with the likes of Frank LaRose or with Robert Sprague, who's also endorsed me. I don't know, Robert was going to be here tonight. I don't know if he ended up making it in time yet. But the leadership of this state, we're going to work together as one team to lead our state to the next level. Christina Rogner is running for state treasurer, one of our outstanding state legislators. I know your term of limited, Rob. You're going to play an important role in that future. Josh, so many of you in the audience who are serving our state, we're going to work together as one team to lead Ohio to our best days still yet ahead. We don't have to be a state in decline. We will still be a state in our ascent, the state that redefines and revives the American dream right here at home. What is that American dream? To me, it's a recognition of an innate desire that every one of us has, just as human beings. We're all hardwired with a deep-seated desire, I believe, to make the most of the short time that we're given. We don't have a long time on this earth. None of us do. I don't take any day for granted. Every day I wake up is a blessing. I'm grateful for that next day. I was grateful to wake up today at nearly the crack of dawn. We started touring the state. We're finishing here tonight. I'll be home by about 11:30 p.m. tonight. I'll be up at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow, headed back to my hometown of Cincinnati for the Hamilton County Pancake Breakfast. I'm grateful for every day that we're each afforded. But we want to make the most of the short time that we're given. Our mortality is the one thing we share in common, and it is because of our mortality. If we were immortal, heroism would be impossible. Right? There would be almost no purpose. You could just roll it out to tomorrow. It's our finite time that we're given that gives us that sense of purpose, the meaning, the hunger that every one of us has to be a hero in our own small and unique way. That's what we share in common. Our desire to be a hero, not just as a president or a governor or a CEO, but as a mother or a father or a nurse or a police officer or a teacher in our public schools or a son or a daughter caring for a grandfather or a grandmother in a nursing home in our time of need. There are many ways to be a hero, and I believe each of us has that longing. The American dream is not just about individual success and pursuit. It's also about a nation, a society, a state that recognizes and celebrates every one of those heroes. There's no being a hero alone. You've got to be recognized and respected as one along the way. It's not just about green pieces of paper. It is about reviving our purpose and conviction as citizens. That's what the true American dream is about at our best. And I want Ohio to be the state that reignites and revives that American dream. The state where we will look our kids in the eye and mean it when we tell them that you get ahead in the United States of America and that you get ahead in the state of Ohio with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication. And that you know what? Whether you agree with me or not, you are free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is the American dream. That is what we are running to. That is where I want to lead us back to as your next governor, so that 10 years from now, when our young people on the internet are talking about people who sent a manned rocket all the way to Mars by then, who cured a previously incurable genetic disease, who powered our electric grid with the energy of the future, nuclear energy and beyond. You know what they're going to say then? Only in Ohio. That's where we're leading our state. And with your help, we will make sure that our state's best days are still yet ahead of us. Thank you, guys. God bless you and your families. May God bless our United States of America, and may God bless our great state of Ohio. Thank you all. Lucas County, Toledo, this is just the beginning. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Appreciate you all being here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Great to speak.
Thank you for serving us today, guys. Thank you very much, okay? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Hey, thank you, okay? Tell them I said hello.
Great job.
Good to see you. Thank you, Marcia. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, okay? Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.